All set. Good evening. I'd like to call the Finance Committee of June 14th, 2022 to order at 5:02 p.m. First item is approval of minutes, draft minutes of the May 24th, 2022 Finance meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move approval.
All right, Alder Gerhardt. Motioned, discussion. Hearing none, we'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Item 3, public appearances and non-agenda items. We have no one in chambers or online. We will move on to item 4, the Finance Director report, and I'll turn the floor over to our Finance Director, Misty Dodge.
Thank you. So I'm sure you've all noticed the gas prices are still elevated compared to what we were expecting. The IRS did increase the mileage rate effective July 1st. And then I'm talking to department heads about doing a budget amendment to address the gasoline prices. I'm confident at this point we're going to not meet our budget, so we'll need to figure out how to absorb that. But it might be a little bit before we figure out new assumptions, but we know that something needs to come to you guys to formalize that overage.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you remind me what the IRS mileage rates are?
So it was 58 and it went to 67. Yeah, I can Google it real quick.
And that's Wisconsin, right? They provide that, or?
Nope,
it's federal.
Yep.
The IRS.
Yep. Federal IRS. So it was 58.5. Oh man, I pulled up the wrong page. I will get it to you. It was 58.5 and they increased it, I want to say 62, 67, somewhere in that ballpark. The audit was delayed again, so I know you were expecting to have the audit presentation this evening. That timing continued to not work out for us. The audit report was actually published about 10 minutes ago, though, so I will get that posted to the website tomorrow morning, email that out to the council, and then the audit presentation will be at the next meeting. The CIP has been released, so the mayor's proposed 2023 to 2032 CIP was posted to the website on Friday. Tomorrow is our special finance committee meeting, the one where all the department heads come in and share with you the projects that are being requested, and then also answer any questions that you have as you're trying to determine what the priorities are for the city. We did hire an administrative intern. Ryan starts on Monday, so really excited to get some extra hands to help out during budget season in particular. Speaking of budget, so worksheets go out this week. So CIP's done. Now I got to start talking about budget from a department staff level. And then the second tranche of the ARPA funding. So remember, we got half of it last year. We were going to get another half. That's been scheduled to be released to us on June 20th. So it'll be good to have that money actually in hand so that we know that it all went through. So as you can tell, I still have a lot of catching up that I'm trying to do from this year. It's been a bit of a timing struggle, so I just appreciate all of your patience with all of the other things that I know I'm not quite hitting deadlines on. So thank you for that.
Very good. Any questions, further questions from the committee? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, review of bills. 5A, detailed review of all ACH payments for $10,000 and above for the period of May 1st to the 31st, 2022, totaling $506,575.48. Questions? I think I have one. I'm going to open up the... No, I'm sorry. It's further into the review of the bills. We will move on to detail review of all ACH payments May 1st through the 31st, 2022, totaling $513,947.07. Questions? Okay. Yes, I do have the question on. And again, that's not true. I know where I want to go. I just need to find it. Moving on to item 5D. Detailed review of checks for $10,000 and above, May 16th through the 31st, 2022, totaling $181,018.50. Questions from the committee? All right. Here's my question. Further in under playground surfacing, the 4,200 square feet of colored pour, is that for a particular project, are they inclusive, or is it another location? Do you know, Misty?
Is it the Meek Playground? Yeah, 4,200 square feet.
That's the inclusive playground, yep.
I'm sorry, what?
That's the inclusive playground.
It is the inclusive. Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving on to 5C, detailed review of all checks issued, checks 123506 through 123561 for the period of May 16th through the 31st, 2022, totaling $260,750.18. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, moving on. Under item 6, action items, 6A, do I have a motion to approve resolution R-103-22, amending the 2022 general fund budget, additional deputy fire chief?
I move approval.
A motion made by Alder Wheeler. Misty, would you like to speak to this item, or yes?
Yes. So during the 2022 budget process, the fire department shared with us that one of the longtime command staff positions was going to be retiring. And we're learning as we go through this year that additional command staff at a full-time professional level is needed in order to continue the operations in an efficient way. So this is a budget amendment put forward for your consideration. It is budget neutral. The funding for this additional deputy chief position, it is an additional position, full-time, yay, Joe's here, would be funded through the retirement and a reduction in other paid on-call hours, as well as a delay in the 3 lieutenant promotions that were included in the 2022 budget. And now I will happily turn it over to Chief Pulvermacher.
Thank you. Apparently, my timing for once is impeccable. The intent behind addressing the deputy chief's position is to identify some of the ongoing concerns with needed command staff capacity. We have a number of different things going on in the city, development being one of them, some of the operational sustainability associated with training. Those types of things are ultimately coordinated at the command staff level and then delegated appropriately based on task. So we have been insufficient in our command staff capacity for a while. We've been addressing it. We knew that this was coming up because of the fact that we lost one of our paid on premises deputy chiefs last year. He basically retired out of his position. And the hours that he filled, they were full-time hours. He was getting paid a part-time salary on that. So when he left, we felt the pinch almost immediately as of January 1st of this year. So as a result, I personally am filling a lot of those hours. One of the items that you have within your packet is the activity sheet of the department. This is the one from April. We're recently coming up with a May activity report. Gives you an idea of the things that we've been working on. The fact that our call volume is up from last year. The fact that many of the call types are consistent with what we have seen in the past. And inspections aren't going down, they're going up because we have more buildings to inspect, which is a good thing, ultimately, at the end of the day. On the second page, you'll see some of the things that actually point out to some of the things that have encouraged this decision. The overtime rates that you're seeing are, from a operational standpoint, are somewhat consistent, but on the command staff side, you'll see that I am putting in anywhere from 110 hours a work period to the highest being 170 hours in a work period. That's over 2 weeks. Now, I do live in the city. Sometimes I'm covering those hours at home, but that limits my ability to do just about anything else. You don't want your fire chief partaking in certain activities when he's on the clock. So those are restrictions that are imposed on somebody who is on duty, and that's stuff that I have been responsible for since the loss of Rich Roth. So gives you an idea of the impact of the command staff and the loss of that position, and the reason why I'm asking for reconsideration of this position moving forward.
Very good, very good. So we'll turn it over to the committee if there's discussion.
So, Joe, are you now taking the 3 lieutenant positions off the table even for 2023?
I'm deferring those. We still need those 3 lieutenant positions. We can't cover both at the same time. Our most immediate need and the impact that we're having on the department happens to be with this command staff position. We have the financial capability right now to be able to address this position, so it made sense to do it now. And then as we move into future budget years, to include coming up, we'll be looking at the additional need for company officer promotions, which will still be needed. We just can't fund both of them at the same time.
Yes, Alder Gerhart, go ahead.
So we discussed this in personnel, and I asked Chief Pulvermacher about the strategy for how they arranged the budget, because it's only half a year position, so it's obviously less than the total of the 3 lieutenant positions. But my understanding is that the way this was structured is so that we could carry this forward into next budget without creating a structural deficit, and that was the reason why it was organized like this. So just wanted to note that for the Finance Committee. And is that anything to add to that from either of you?
I would like to say that in working with Misty, the last thing that she wants to hear is the 2-word structural deficit.
Unless it's a none.
Yeah, unless there's 3 words, no structural deficit. But that was actually considered in approaching the funding of this position.
I know, yesterday when I met with Misty, I heard that right away. It would not create a structural deficit, so we're all on the same page. Yes, Alder Gerhart.
And just one more thing, I just wanted to, thanks to you and the other staff that are pulling some extra hours to make up for this deficit. That is a lot of hours in a 2-week period. It's kind of mind-boggling, so thank you for stepping up and making that happen. And I hope that we can, make this happen.
I appreciate your support.
Very good. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us into a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you.
On a lighter note, maybe you could recruit the rabbit?
Oh, you like that? I had a rabbit visit me today at my office.
Yeah, it's out there on Facebook. That's where I caught it. Moving on to action item 6B. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-105-22, authorizing the rejection of bids for McCoy? I just want to make sure we're on page here. Authorizing the rejection of bids for McCoy sanitary sewer extension.
I move approval.
Motion made by Alder Gerhart. And Misty, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. So this is a formal process by which we would like to reject the bids that we received. So this project was put out to bid. The one bid that we received was about twice over the engineer's estimate, and which we felt was too high. So staff intends to redesign the extension and then rebid it in the fall. But before we could even pursue that, we have to formally reject the bids that we did receive.
Very good. Questions from the committee? I just have the one question, and I think I mentioned it to you yesterday, but will not hold up the development of further down MM, correct? I just want to make sure that project this project doesn't impede upon that particular project. Not that you're aware of, I'm guessing.
Not that I'm aware of. So I haven't heard that there were any concerns about it being delayed.
Nothing has come about. Very good. Okay. Additional discussion. Yes, Alder Gerhart.
So I try not to ascribe anything to coincidence, but it seems like we've been rejecting quite a few bids recently, and that might just be coincidence. But is there any discussion about is this kind of normal amount of business? Like, do we typically reject this many in a given year, or is there some indication of some discussion in Public Works? And we don't have to comment on it, but is there discussion in Public Works about how to avoid this type of regular rejection of bids in the future?
Right. I'll say I have noticed a bit of an uptick in rejections as well. I think part of that, though, could be we're bidding a lot more projects than we may have in the past. So I don't know as far as a proportion if it's reasonable or not. I know Jim is on board of Public Works. I don't know if they've talked about kind of that in general, but I could always follow up with the Public Works director and get back to you guys.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. All right, moving on to item 6C.
This one, I would like to interrupt you if that's
Yes.
okay. So for the next two, R11022 and R11322, Board of Public Works postponed both of these to their next meeting. So staff would recommend that Finance Committee does the same, and we postpone both of these next two to the 6/28 meeting.
Very good. Do I have a motion to postpone? Would somebody like to place
I'll
that
make that motion to postpone.
until the next meeting of June 28th?
Until the next meeting of June 28th.
Very good, thank you. Those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. And then do I have a motion for the next resolution as well to postpone until,
I move postponement of resolution R11322 to the June 28th meeting.
very good. Those in favor of postponement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on then to item 6E. Do I have a motion to approve resolution R-115-22, amending the 2022 park fee budget, drinking fountain at Dog Park?
I move approval.
Motion made by Alder Wheeler. And Misty, would you like to speak to this resolution as well?
We actually have Scott here, so I'd like the Parks Director to
Oh,
address
very
this
good,
one.
yes. Mhm.
Thank you, Misty. Randy, this is in partnership with the Fitchburg Dog Park Advocates. We're continuing to work on improvements at Sunnyside Dog Park, and one of the improvements is to have a drinking fountain there. And a couple of the project highlights, we would use the existing well that's at the site. We would need to bring power to that well, and we would do that from the cabinet on the corner of Irish and Fish Hatchery. And we're thinking that we probably would have to do a little bit of a repair to the pressure tank for the drinking fountain. And then also this would include the purchase of the new drinking fountain. I might note, and I mentioned it in a memo, that the Dog Park Advocates are going to commit $8,450 towards this project, with one caveat, of course, that they'd like to have it completed in 2022. So that's the project, and we're pretty confident that we can get it done in 2022.
All right, thank you, Scott. I'll open it up to the floor for questions.
I have a question.
Yes, Jim, go ahead. Alder Wheeler.
God, I've seen water fountains that had a place for the adults to drink water. Then lower, there was a place for people to fill dog bowls with water. Will this water fountain have that feature?
It will, Alder Wheeler. It'll serve both our dog friends and our human friends.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I have a couple questions. Now, $8,000 is being contributed to this project, correct, Scott?
That's correct, from the Fitchburg Dog Park Advocates, right?
Yeah, there is a significant price tag to this project still, though. There's a $40,000 in total. from what you described, it sounds like we're using an existing well. So what is driving those costs? Do you know offhand?
We've got to get power to the well, is an expense. And certainly the drinking fountain itself, is an expense. So yeah, it is not, it is costly, for drinking fountains to be installed. So
Yeah.
and that, it's kind of in line with the other drinking fountains that we're installing. It's kind of the cost of doing business nowadays, to be honest with you, Randy.
All right. Yeah, I know that some of the other drinking fountains had a significant price tag associated with them as well. But I just wanted to ask the questions and throw them out there so that we're all aware that there is a significant cost for a good cause, no question. But $40,000 is a significant dollar amount. Is there additional questions? Yes, Alder Gerhart.
I'm curious. I mean, so you said that the donation is contingent upon doing it this year. I'm just concerned. I mean, Parks Department is always so busy, and I kind of dislike that it's contingent on having it be built this year, just given all the projects that you're working on. Is this? I understand you're going to make it work, but is this kind of a burden to the Parks Department?
Is it important?
Is it a burden? Is it a burden to get this done?
No. Well, it's we're kind of subject to contractors availability and things like that, but we have been able to, and we're thinking that we would bore the electric, and we have been working with a boring company in town, and they've been real helpful and able to expedite the project. So I'm pretty confident that we'd be able to get it done. We still got some time, so.
Okay.
No
Thanks.
burden. That's what we do.
Very good. Additional questions for Scott? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us then to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Scott. Moving on to 6F. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-116-22, amending the 2022 Donations Fund and Capital Projects Fund budgets, Senior Center patio?
I move approval.
Motion made by Alder Gerhart. And who is speaking to this?
I'll take this one.
Okay, very good. Go ahead.
So you've heard about this project kind of through the ARPA and TID closure investment plan. The senior center patio was a project that was included in that adopted plan. The senior center director went back and looked at costs and looked at alternate funding options, though, and determined that she thinks she could do the complete project using donations. So this resolution in front of you is to do the budget amendment that would reflect the total cost funded by donations, as well as allowing her to kind of kick off a capital campaign to make up the cost. So the total project is $30,000. $10,000 of it has already been pledged from the Senior Center Friends. The other $10,000 has already been collected through legacy funds, and then the other $10,000 is what the Senior Center Director would work on a capital campaign for. So this is just kind of giving the authority to move forward with that donation piece. Once those donations have all been received, then we would move forward to that purchasing process. The money would have to be in hand first before we would publicly bid it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Discussion from the committee. Hearing none, place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to item 6, or action item 6G. Do I have a motion to approve Resolution R-122-22, Crescent Crossing Park Improvement Proposal? And this is a direct referral.
I'll move approval.
Motion made by Alder Wheeler. Misty, will you speak to this item as well?
I'd actually like to kick this one off to Scott as well.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you. This is, we're continuing to work with the Crescent Crossing development in their park improvement proposal. They actually have recently dedicated Outlot 7 to the city for park purposes, along with Outlot 11. What they're looking or proposing to do is a pocket park in Outlot 7, which is pretty standard. The question really that's going to be before the council tonight is their feelings on Outlot 11. They're proposing to have a neighborhood dog playground on Outlot 11. So we wanted to, circle back with the council to reaffirm that they're good with the idea of having a neighborhood dog playground in this development. It is a little bit different. We're kind of going down a different or a new road, if you would, where we're working with the developer that they're going to be involved in publicly bidding project, and it certainly is going to need to be approved by the Park Commission and all other bodies. And then at the end of the day, they would receive their credit, an actual credit improvement fees that they've dedicated per the purchase price of the different amenities. Along with, they'll be eligible for a fee in lieu of parkland dedication credit because they are these outlots will become public property. So I can certainly take any questions on this one.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Scott. Additional questions from the committee? Alder Gerhard.
The one thing that occurs to me about the dog playground is that it's just very close to these buildings versus, Sunnyside is kind of off a little bit farther away. Is there a general, and I'm interested, is there a general feeling about putting a dog park so close to buildings, or is there going to be regulations about what hours dogs can visit the park?
Scott, we do have two representatives from the development, and I'm not sure which is which here, so sorry.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Chris Sellers. Been shepherding this through for the last year and a half here, so happy to answer any questions, and that's a valid question which you had. Yes, we've notified. This was always intended to be a dog park, but right when Veridian was getting Crescent Crossing approved was when Dane County and Fitchburg were adapting or on the cusp of adopting new stormwater ordinance. So we wanted to make sure we would have enough room potentially for basins. So we had to pull the park back, give ourselves as much flexibility and open space as we could, get the basins, get this approved, get the necessary stormwater storage capacity approved, and meet all the requirements first. That's what we were kind of guided to do that. Then come back with the park. In the meantime, we've been building and selling all of our attainably priced houses out there and have fully disclosed to everybody that it's a future dog park site out there. We've also disclosed to the adjacent builder who's building the houses on the other side that it would be a potential dog park too. And I got to say, everybody's very excited about it, and just having something that everybody can walk to is the big draw in that neighborhood, well, in the adjacent neighborhoods. So it's kind of a newer concept, but it's very popular in other municipalities. Just it's a little smaller version, but it's meant to be more of a walkable park, and that's something that I see doing a few more of these in the future with future developments here in Fitchburg as we progress here with other developments. So,
Okay, very good. Additional questions? Alder Gerhard, go ahead.
I'm curious about the landscaping in the dog playground. Like, is there? We're always trying to improve the tree cover in the city, and the tree, like we have a 30% tree canopy goal. Obviously there's some trees on the plans, but I mean, I know you'll talk about this in Park Commission, but is the dog park just like one open swath of field, or is there trees in that plan?
yeah, there's actually, it's you want to give the dogs an area to run around, but this has more, I don't want to call them obstacles, but more creative dog, like an obstacle course for dogs. So there's a tunnel that they can run through that's built into the ground. There's a couple other things that have been put in the plans there, and I haven't looked at them in a while. I can't remember everything that we've got, but it's more about having, like we've classified as a doggy playground, things for the dogs to go and play with. The trees, I envision lining more of the exterior just to provide some natural buffer, eventually as they grow up, but not necessarily so much within the park, because you want to give everybody the opportunity to run. I think there are a couple called out on the plan just for potential shade spots where we'd put a bench underneath for a resting area for people. But, yeah, that would be the mindset with this one.
Okay. And then I guess if it's okay, one more.
No, go ahead.
I guess this is a little bit for Scott. I'm just curious about, it seems in some ways it's very convenient for the developers to help develop the park, and we offset the cost with park fees reduction. And it sounds like you said that this is sort of a new model. Can you just comment on that? Is this something
It's
that's
new for Fitchburg. We've
Okay.
done this, and actually do it in Madison quite a bit, and have done it in Verona and Sun Prairie. So this is something new that we've presented to Fitchburg, and making sure that everybody's comfortable with. Every municipality has their own kind of request along the way, and this time Fitchburg, who's very similar to Sun Prairie, has requested that we publicly bid the process. I will say we will get, most likely by having us lead the public bid and seeing the Veridian name behind it, we'll probably get better pricing by doing it this way. It's just the way it goes. And again, having it run through more of a private entity, but doing a public process, it just generates better numbers is what we've seen in the past, and still have to go through and get the bid, award the bid through the Parks Department, and then final turnover and final acceptance will obviously be going to Parks Department as well.
And is that like a benefit because you can kind of design the parks to what you understand this type of neighborhood wants? Is that kind of the rationale? I'm just curious about the rationale behind wanting control of that piece. Is it? It's just
For why we get better pricing, or why what?
Well, yeah, I mean, like why just the extra work you put in terms of bidding and putting in all the equipment and everything.
Oh, yes, because it's ultimately it's an amenity to the neighborhood. So we'd love to have the opportunity to design it and do it ourselves. And then as long as the city or the municipality is good with it, we include, we get their buy-in, but we do a lot of the front-end heavy lifting, and it helps expedite the process. If we, in all honesty, if we followed the process, this park would probably take 5 to 6 years to build. I mean, that's just kind of the bureaucracy that you're stuck in with this. By shepherding it through like we've done, we can get it built in the summer, and that's what I really would like to do.
So when the neighbors move in, the park is ready to go.
Well, half the neighbors are in it, yes. I would like to get this part.
okay,
Yeah, there's a lot of people moving out there and living out there, but they're all asking for it. And so, yes, I would love to have this in by the end of the summer, so everybody could get their dogs out there. So.
Good to know. Thanks.
I have a question from the financial standpoint. So let me back up a little bit. This is going to be a public park at the city of Fitchburg.
Yep.
When all's said and done. And however, you're placing you're doing the design, and you're placing the playground equipment and whatever else
Right.
that's associated with the park. Is that going through the park's approval as well?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
is.
So that would, we've already done the design, and next step would be going out to bid for the design that went through parks for a couple rounds through parks in itself. So.
Okay. And then this is probably more of a question for Misty then. And when it comes time to where this park is mature and we end up replacing, that it falls into our responsibility once again? Is that correct?
Correct. So the park fee credit would go to just pay for this initial installation, but any ongoing maintenance and replacement costs in the future would all be borne by the tax levy.
Okay. All right.
And I don't want to quote exact numbers, but there's a substantial amount that won't be used to build these two parks that we've paid or will be paying in park fees that'll still be available for future use, ideally maintenance of the parks that we're directly paying for. But, we paid upwards of $550,000 in park fees in this. So, between the dog park and the pocket park, we're using about half that, I think, or approximately a little bit more maybe, but there's plenty left to be used to fill that need down the road.
So not exactly. So it would have to go towards new amenities. So I believe the remaining money would go towards the North Stoner Prairie Park. So park fees cannot be used for maintenance or replacement.
Okay. All right. Additional questions? Hearing none, I'll place the motion before us to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. We will move on to the last action item on our agenda. That's 6H. Motion to approve Resolution R-124-22, approving emergency services for well number 4.
I move approval.
Approval made by Alder Wheeler. And Misty, will you speak to this item as well?
I will.
right, thank
So you've seen some emergency services for well number 11 recently. So well 11 and well 4 serve the same area. So well 11 is now being addressed. We'll be back online very soon if it isn't already. Well 4 has also been losing a lot of capacity, so we need to get this well also pulled and some maintenance done. So we did an emergency approval for the pulling of the well, which was less than $25,000. This then is for the rest of the project. It did go to bid, even though it was an emergency. That was staff's trying to get still good prices, even though it was an emergency, but wanted to still bring it to you for the overall bid approval.
Okay, very good. Open up the floor to discussion. Yes, Alder Gerhart.
This might be me to throw this to Bill, but I'm also curious for Jim if there's any discussion at Public Works. But there's been several of these recently. What concerns about the wells? Is this just a matter of our wells are getting to the age where we're looking at regular repairs, or is there something missing that we're having these emergency situations that need to be resolved immediately, or are these two issues so connected that it's just kind of one of the same emergency that's happening to both wells?
It's more or less connected.
Okay.
And, this just goes to expansion and, just the maintenance in and of itself of these wells.
And we do have a CIP project for well maintenance where it's a certain amount per year. These two have kind of jumped the line because things happened a little bit sooner than what we expected. But we are planning for these wells to need this kind of ongoing maintenance going forward.
Okay. Any additional questions? Seeing none, I'll place the motion to a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to item 7, announcements. The next meeting is scheduled for June 15th, 2022, CIP presentations, which is then June 28th, 2022, regular meeting. So, excuse me. Adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned officially at 5:39 p.m. Thank you.